Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. Excited for my next guest. His name is Michael Walsh. Michael Walsh has spent the last 7 years working behind the scenes in real estate, helping well-known companies grow through smart marketing and automation. He's also the co-founder of Uprank, an AI ads agent that helps agents and investors create, launch, and optimize digital ad campaigns without paying agency-type prices. Michael, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Benson. I really am excited to talk today about this.
You've got it. No problem. So you've been in the business for a while, and you've spent a lot of your time in the real estate world, and you've worked with all types of companies, large ones with big budgets to small, agile, startup type companies, and now you're building your own.
Yes.
What have you learned over the years from those different experiences?
I think that it's one of those things that you just have to adapt with wherever you're at. A lot of people, they try to fit a mold. They may watch somebody on YouTube or on social media, and they may think, oh, I need to fit this mold and I need to do this because I'm having the same style of business or the same product or the same thing. What we don't see and we don't understand all these is behind the scenes, that person may have a lot bigger budget than what we could ever even imagine having at this point in time. So you have to be agile and you have to adapt for whatever you're in this current situation and whatever you're facing.
Is it, because you mentioned budget, right? Is it all about the budget? I've worked with agencies in the past where we spent six figures on just the due diligence and getting started and a bunch of back and forth, and like 4 months into it, nothing happened. I imagine that budget plays a part in it, but how important is the budget versus the creativity and the execution of the whole campaign?
I think when you're looking at budget, it's funny because when you just look at YouTube, for example, you can go out there and you can look at just organic YouTube videos, and you can look at one that you can tell is overly created. I mean, it's got the perfect sound, the perfect light, the studio, the angles, everything. And then you can take another video that has just somebody in their camera sitting in their hotel room talking about something, real talk, and that real talk video is outperforming that really nicely created video every single day. And so really, it's not always about the budget. Yes, the budget's helpful, and it's funny because sometimes that nicely created video is going after a very different audience, and this is why I say you have to adapt and have to understand kind of what's going on, because that one nice video might be going after a really very different audience than that cheaply made video that's in the hotel room.
Yeah.
That's on the road, that's behind the scenes. And so that's what you have to think about when it comes to budget, is not as much, hey, I need to go spend all this money, because yes, the budget is important and budget is good, but there's always a starting point. Like, not everybody can start at, $3,000 a month plus ad spend, or $10,000 a month plus ad spend. And so there is this starting point where sometimes people, they only have, $500 a month, $1,000 a month, or even $3,000 a month for ad spend. Mm-hmm. Don't go hire an agency if your total budget's $1,000 or $3,000. That's just not going to work, because most of your money is going to go to that agency. And so you want to really kind of just look at what is your situation, where are you at, and how you can grow from that situation. And then what you'll find, and this is what I found with a lot of entrepreneurs, is when they learn to adapt in the beginning, they make smarter choices later on. For a long time, you guys might have heard of a lot of entrepreneurs and gurus and stuff bragging about, ooh, I spend $25K a month on my content creation team, or I spend $50K or $100K or whatever they spend. And they're bragging about it like it's like this badge of honor. But is it? And that's what we have to ask. Is that really a badge of honor? Yeah, it's nice that they can do that, but do they have to do that?
Right.
And could they, adapt better? Could they have adapted better in the beginning and maybe been smarter? Especially as we enter the world of AI, everything's about ready to change. Everything's changing, but what we're seeing and what we're going to see over the next 3 years is just going to be insane.
Oh yeah. And it just in my time in business, it's changed so much when budget really was king because it was all like certain kinds of marketing, right? It was SEO, which is really kind of intensive, ongoing work. And then there was, you know, like an artist would have to sit down and draw out the art and,
Yeah.
put a lot of creativity into, you know, being able to do it. And then the ones that could do it well, like they're worth more, right? Because there's a certain kind of person that can write good ad copy or can draw a great logo and you paid for it. But times shifted and it moved from really it's kind of like your standard marketing to a new form of marketing, which you alluded to earlier, which is like more content driven and distributed differently than a billboard or a web page. Now there's social media and people can distribute their own messaging without having to pay huge budgets. And it's resonating with a lot of younger people, especially, right? The different gens, all we can name them all, but they are resonating with a different kind of marketing now. What was like the
Absolutely.
big shift, do you think, in that kind of traditional old school methodology of marketing to what now is more content driven?
I mean, it's obviously it is technology. I think a lot of other things along the way have happened along with the technology. But it's like if you go back to like 1995 when people were just bringing dial-up into their home, it opened the world to something totally different. And we didn't even know, like at that time, we didn't even know what it was going to bring. We didn't even know what was going to be able to be done. And then as we moved towards social media, and social media started coming in the early 2000s, it became easier to start to have a voice. And today, it's even easier than ever to have that voice, but to get noticed is the harder part now. So it's like it was easier to have the voice just recently in the recent years. And now it's like, okay, how do I get noticed? How do I get attention? And at this point in time, it's like you're sitting here thinking, if I want to get above all these other people, because it's not just about the big brands now. Like your competition is no longer big brands. It's everybody else that's doing kind of the same exact thing. And so it's like, how do I stand out and how do I do it? And kind of bringing this together with the budget, looking at the changes and the things that are shifting, is like staying on top of the changes is very important. Staying on top of understanding where you are in a budget. You should never. And I recently had somebody talk. I was talking to somebody about this, and they were talking about taking debt on a marketing package, and I was like, why would you ever do that? Like, to me, that's just like debt is just too scary to use for marketing budgets. It's just not, because marketing is kind of a roll of the dice sometimes, and we know that. You put a video out there, it might be a great video, but it just doesn't hit. And it doesn't matter, like I said, if you spend it on that really nicely done video or if that cheaper made video. So if you're willing to do that, take the risk of just putting it out there, because that's the biggest shift that's happened, is that we can just go create content and put it out there. And now we've had even a bigger shift because we went from what was a follower-based algorithm to where YouTube cared and TikTok cared and all these platforms cared about how many followers we had. Now it just cares about that one piece of content we're putting out. That's why we're watching like somebody with like 5 followers or 100 followers or 1,000 followers, this low number of followers, hit 1 million watches on a TikTok video or 2 million or whatever it is. Same with on YouTube, the same thing's happening. It's because it became this intent-based marketing and algorithm versus oh, look, they have a lot of followers. We better push this video to all their followers and to everybody that looks like their followers. Now it's just like, hey, this video, let's test it out here. And that's what the algorithm is doing, is it's testing it. It does good, so it tests it further and further and further. And a lot of people don't get that piece of content that goes out there and does well, so they give up. And I actually heard a stat today from Neil Patel. He was talking about how the average YouTube channel, not YouTube, sorry, the average podcast doesn't make it past 50 episodes. And he's like, you know, like it's just so crazy to think that these podcasts, they don't even make it to 20. They just give up because it's just, they don't get that hit. But if they would have just kept going, what about that 51, 52, 53? Maybe that was the episode, but they kind of just gave up and they didn't learn along the way, reposition, redo it, figure out a different way of doing the hook or the script, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's an interesting dichotomy here between views and what's popular and then actual monetization. Like some of these social platforms have gotten better at like, okay, we'll pay somebody out of our own pocket, even though they're not selling any products, right? But they're just, they somehow created a piece of content that was worthy of views. The platform pays them. But that's not really marketing in the sense of like, let's market a product or a service, like what we're going to talk about today with your AI
Correct.
platform. Like you're marketing a specific product or service. That blend right there of like, okay, I want attention, but how do I really monetize the attention? And how do you transition from just having a viral video that doesn't have a product placement to using that same strategy to sell something?
Yeah. So people, as we move more into AI, people are going to want authenticity. I think we used to talk, like people used to talk about this all the time, authenticity, and I'm authentic, I'm the authentic self or the authentic me. I mean, they talked about this for just almost until they were blue in their face. It was like every influencer on some level was saying, you need to be authentic, you need to be. But I think that as we move into more AI, and I don't want to go down the path of authenticity and really say, oh, we need to, because what is it? It's like there's kind of a, you know, defining it can be tough sometimes even, but people want to see real. Even if that real involves AI, they want the truth from it. And it's like right now, if you think of video right now, and you look at video, for the past 100 years, there was actually, I think 1925, that the first camera was created, the first camcorder was created. Since then, in the last 100 years, video has become like a form of proof, a form of reality. So if you see a camera, a hidden camera, or a camera on Funniest Home Videos, if you see something in your mind, that's real and that happened. I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old that will never know a world like that. Video today, from this point forward, video is not a testimony of truth because anybody and everybody can create anything almost. And it's scary, but at the same time, there's going to be other forms of proof and testimony along the way that come. And so staying true with what you're doing on your channel. So if you're doing a TikTok channel on a subject, staying true on there is so important, because if you're just throwing out a bunch of fake news or a bunch of garbage or a bunch of, you know, AI slop, basically is what they call it. If you're throwing out a bunch of stuff that doesn't even bring value to the world, to transition that, you might make a buck, but you're not going to transition into a brand. And that is what we're going to need in the future. Brand is going to be key in the future. Because if you really think about AI, like where we're going, like the iPhone, I mean, Apple has just let us know that they're not planning on releasing another iPhone. They're actually trying to figure out ways that they can go a step further. What is the era of the iPhone may be gone. What's the next thing? Meta's got glasses. OpenAI's talked about he doesn't want to use glasses. He wants to use something else, but he hasn't released what that is. Everybody has something. So what's that next iPhone, that item, that phone, that thing that we have going to be? How's it going to react? How's it going to work? How's it going to interface with things? And brand is super important, because in the future of AI, think about a robot that can fix itself, a robot that fixes your faucet for you, or a robot that orders the part for you. it's not going to ask you, hey, who should I go to? It might have in its preset, like, hey, go to this plumbing company or go to this appliance company in its preset, but it might just search for the best value, the best price, the best thing out there, and done. It's finished. So as we transition from, and I know that was a very long answer, but as we transition from the idea of thinking, how do we take regular content and monetize off of it, truth is the key. Like that is the key, because that's what's going to get people to know, like, and trust you. That's what's going to help you to build a solid brand that lasts. So as the future comes and as things change, which we don't know what it's going to look like, as those things change, it's going to be a lot better off for you, because you're going to be able to be discoverable. You're going to be the one that people resonate with, that they want to work with, that they want to be around, and they're going to trust you. And that's really what business has always been. I feel like we've kind of veered away here and there in subcategories, but I mean, that's really what it should be, and that's what it's all been. Know, like, and trust, and work with those people.
Yeah. And you mentioned brand, and brand historically has been a logo and a saying and, a certain vibe to what a company sells, right? Like brand is its own thing. And, with social, like brand is different now, because it could be some teenage guy in the bathroom just talking to the mirror, right? And he's selling a beauty product, right? Maybe it's like beef tallow for his face. He has no brand. So how has brand been redefined now with influence, right? That's influencers, like it's a whole different animal.
It is, but it's not. So brand is deeper. If you think of brand is deeper than the logo, deeper than the colors, deeper than the slogan. Brand is a feeling. So I'm going to go back to the iPhone. When I think of an iPhone, I don't just think of the Apple logo. I don't just think of the bright colors that they might use on their website when they build their website, the clean, sleek look with the interesting neons that come in. I don't just think about that. I also think of this feeling that having my iPhone and getting a blue message feels like. Like, what does that blue message feel like versus when I text somebody and I get a green one? Like, what's that feeling? So we've talked a lot about culture, and a culture in a business. If you really think of brand deeper than the colors, the logo, the slogan, and you think of it as almost the culture and the feeling around your business, that's what you get. Now, when we jump into the influencer, I think actually I want to rewind a little bit to Casey Neistat. I want to bring him into this. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He was a big YouTuber. He was a daily vlogger, and he was the guy who basically brought daily vlogging to life. And he would make a short film every single day. Casey Neistat had a brand. If you watch any of his videos, he had these glasses. They were almost, I don't know if they were Ray-Bans, but they looked like Ray-Bans, but he would buy these glasses brand new, and then he'd sit there and chip off the paint of them to make them look worn and broken and stuff like that. He had a boosted board, which was an electric skateboard. So when I think of Casey Neistat, I think of this fun, goofy guy that would go do these not super outlandish, crazy things, but kind of just fun things that, oh man, I wish I could do that during my work day. And I wish I could just ride my board around New York City and talk to people. He had this office that just looked down on the street with cameras all over the background, just the background of it. So he did really well of not even having a true logo that I actually don't remember his logo, but I remember his glasses. I remember his curly hair. I remember his snarky comments. I remember his skateboard, and I remember his office. That was his brand. Now, Casey Neistat took a break, moved to California, and spent more time with his family. And so he's done some comebacks and stuff like that. But I still remember him in New York City. And that's what brand is that feeling that I get when I think about watching Casey Neistat videos. I don't know why. They were just addictive. And he'd create one every single day. And you were just like, oh man, I got to watch this guy. I got to watch this guy. And that's that kid that's selling something. He's right now just selling something. He's a salesman. But moving forward in the future, his goal should be to figure out a brand around himself. And like Hailey Bieber, she just did it. I mean, look what she just sold for $1 billion, just sold her makeup company. And it's why? Because she was that kid in the bathroom, putting on her makeup, talking about it, ended up going into an investment with some partners that knew the industry, and boom, they sold.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, that is the difference between a logo and a slogan and a colors versus a true brand. Because it doesn't even need technically the logo. The logo's nice, especially if you're a business, but like for Casey Neistat, he doesn't need a logo.
So let's talk about what happened recently then with Cracker Barrel.
Oh.
Which all they did was change the logo. Right? The stuff behind the brand that we think is what creates the feeling, right? Going to this rustic location. Now, they've changed some of the locations, but people aren't as up in arms about the way they've changed the feel of the physical restaurant.
Yep.
But people were up in arms about this damn logo. But none of the other background stuff changed. So what's different about that scenario where all they did was try to minimize the way the logo looked and make it more modern, but people hated it, and their stock dropped like $100 million in a couple days in value. And within a few days, they're like, "Oh, we're changing it back."
It's really, oh man, I watched that whole thing and I was just like sitting there and like just thinking about everything that was going on with it. And again, we're back to video isn't proof anymore. Photos aren't proof anymore. So just because you see a photo or a video online does not mean it's real. Just because you see a news report or a slogan does not mean it's real. And that is what happened to them. If it would have just been very quiet, the logo would have shifted quietly. You would have noticed here and there you're driving along the highway and you're, oh, wait, look, wait, the Cracker Barrel got a new sign. Wow, that's kind of cool. Like, that's the way you would have thought of it. But no, it hit the internet. And what happened is you had all of these influencers on both sides politically. It turned into a political issue. And that's where today you have to be so careful in branding because it can turn into a political issue very quickly. It turned into a political issue. What's funny is I never even looked deeply into anything about like what the CEO said politically or anything like that. I never paid attention to that. I just was like looking at the whole thing from the outside, trying to figure it out. And I even saw pictures as far to show a new version of Cracker Barrel. Oh, look what they did to all their stores. What they're doing to all their stores. They already shifted X amount of stores to this new look. They got rid of the fireplace. They got rid of this. They got rid of this. The menu is different. The meals aren't as big. It went from they changed their logo to their menus totally changed. Their look inside the stores totally changed. They don't have the old-fashioned store anymore. They have a little shop in the front. You can still get a few items, but the big store's not there. And then it turned into a personal attack. And I think it's if you think of KFC, if you took away Colonel Sanders from KFC, took him out of everything, people would get frustrated. They'd get upset. The story of Uncle Herschel came out, the man that was on the Cracker Barrel logo. So now it became a personal attack. It was like, oh my gosh, they're taking this man out of there. And then stories, I actually read posts of stories about Uncle Herschel. Somebody knew Uncle Herschel. I don't know how true they were, but I saw them. And so people just jumped onto that and just went after it. And I feel like whether those stories were true or not true, enough people grabbed it. And their audience, if you actually look at their audience as well, they weren't thinking in line with what does our audience want? Who eats and shops at the Cracker Barrel? Do they want this logo or do they want this logo? Do they just want something that in an ever-changing world, we're still the same? And that would have been probably a better slogan for them to go with. Hey, we could have changed our logo, but everything's changing in this world. Come to Cracker Barrel. We're still the same. Like,
Right.
that would have got their audience right in the door.
Yeah, like some
But
A/B testing, like a focus
Yeah.
group, like
yeah, they
they
didn't do any of that
probably,
as far as I know.
yeah, well, maybe they didn't do it, but that would have been a really good way to test the logo
Yeah.
instead of going back and changing everything. So is that how you would have done it then? How would you change the logo if you wanted to?
Okay.
Being the CEO of that company and trying not to make waves, but still attract enough attention to where people are realizing, because it's a PR opportunity, right? Whenever
Yeah.
you shift something like this, you draw in attention to your company. I hadn't thought about Cracker Barrel for a decade before this happened. Now I kind of want to go eat there. But how would you have done it differently?
So one idea, just one thing that just pops in my head in going off of and doing, would have been spending time getting customer and public feedback. Hey guys, we're really thinking about making a big change in our logo. We're going to start voting over the next 3 months on what should happen to our logo. Make it a social event and spin the story as a positive instead of, I mean, literally the number one story that I saw come out with it, the first thing I saw was this big woke CEO takes on Cracker Barrel. And I was like, what the heck? And that was the story that was spun, is that this was a woke move versus, I don't know what it truly was. Were they just simplifying the logo? Were they not? And so I don't know the behind the scenes of it, but I do know that if they would have spun the story as they came out and owned the narrative, that would have been so much better. So one route would be to go social with it. Here, vote on this, vote on this, vote on this. And just make it fun. Get the audience participating in it. The other route would be to go the route that I mentioned before and say, hey, we thought about changing our logo. Here's what it would look like. But we're going to stay the same. And really go off that comfort, because that's what Cracker Barrel, I mean, if you think of Cracker Barrel, they're comfort food.
Right.
You go to Cracker Barrel because you want to sit there and you want to enjoy yourself. You want to sit by the fire. Like, that's why you go there. And you don't want it to, and this is what I kept seeing photos of, and don't know how true they were, obviously, but they look like McDonald's with a Cracker Barrel logo on it. That's literally what they made the outside of the building look like.
Right.
And they didn't own the narrative, and that was their biggest mistake. And I don't know if it was a mistake or if they just didn't see this happening. Like, if they didn't think, oh my gosh, if we change this logo, it's going to change a lot of things. People are going to get frustrated. They probably didn't see that, to be honest.
Right.
But in any case, in this day and age, we've seen change can definitely cause, because everybody wants their story.
And in any of these decisions too, especially a big company like that, there's different stakeholders in the decision. There's the employees, there's their actual shareholders who own stock in the company, and then there's their customers who actually go and eat the food. And
Yeah.
I've seen in the past that companies make mistakes because they were making decisions based off of what their shareholders wanted rather than what their customers wanted. And that's the tricky thing, was balancing all those different stakeholders in any major decision when it comes to marketing. Any advice there? I mean, ultimately, like, it's revenue, right? That's really
Yes.
what makes
Yeah.
a company tick. If there's no money coming in, then everybody loses.
Absolutely. I like to just think of it as people are voting with their dollars. And
Yeah.
if somebody's not truly voting with their dollar, then they don't fully get a say in it. Even when I'm doing something, like when I'm doing something for my own company, yes, do I get a say in it? Yes. But do I also want to make sure that it resonates with my customers? Absolutely. I don't want to go off the deep end and go down a path that's something totally opposite of what we do and confuse my customer. And so it's just staying in line. And that's, again, back to the brand, setting such guardrails on your brand, knowing that, hey, this is our customer. This is who pays us money. This is who gives us money. And yes, the stakeholders can be important. Obviously, they're important. They have shares. They own percentages. They vote. But they also have to have that customer mindset as well. So if you are on a board and this comes before you, it needs to be, hey, what do the customers think? Now you also have to be careful because customers can tell you, hey, we want all this, and then all of a sudden you make these changes and you're like, wait, none of our customers are buying it. So it's like gradual changes, I've learned, not giant changes.
Yeah.
And make those gradually and carefully. And if it's not voted with dollars, then get rid of it. I was talking to a company this last week, and they launched something to their customers, a product to their customers. And within the first 2 months, they knew it was not going to take off like their other stuff. So they just quietly sunset it and moved to the next thing. And people, they kept it there for the people who really liked it because it was already there. But it was kind of just put on the back shelf where we're not going to promote this, we're not going to push this because it didn't really take off like our other stuff. Right. So that's where it's really important just to know who's voting on your stuff and watch the revenue. And don't make huge changes out of the gate, like little changes, little shifts, and watch the reaction to that.
Yeah, take that feedback, incorporate it, tweak, pivot if you need to. So it was so interesting, that whole scenario. And I don't think it's over yet. We'll see what happens with what that company's doing. But there's a lot of lessons to learn from it, right? With other major brands and what to do and what not to do, especially in this situation. But let's complicate this even further for the audience, okay? Because let's talk about real estate.
Yep.
And a lot of the people who use marketing in the real estate business are trying to find motivated sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Motivated sellers are their customers, right? And it's so, like, how do you market to somebody who's supposed to, you're talking about revenue, like them spending their money on your brand. How does that work in this motivated seller space where it's a totally different dynamic, but they really are your customers? That's where the money is going to come from, but it's a completely different approach than selling a product or a service.
Yeah. So they don't vote with their dollars in the same way because they don't spend money with you in the sense. And it's different for investors and different for agents, but it's essentially the same thing. There's a few nuances, obviously. An investor is buying the house, or they're flipping the property, or they're doing something like that, whereas the agent is basically just getting a buyer for. But essentially, they're trying to go after the same people, the same thing, and the people aren't paying them directly, but instead, what's happening here is they are bringing them their property and they're signing an agreement with them. And so that agreement is the vote. That agreement is the vote that you want them to bring to you. It's your job from there then to make sure that you can turn the property. And that's part of the service. That's not part of the voting. So getting them into an agreement, whether it be a listing agreement or a contract to purchase, whatever it may be, getting them into that agreement is what tells you, okay, what I'm doing is working. Getting a lead is a small step of voting, I guess. They're just kind of like, I would say, more micro measurements versus you really want the contract. A lot of times people will say, oh, I got a lead. Well, what is a lead? Is a lead a phone number, a name, a phone number, an address? Because I can go get a bunch of those. Is it a name, a phone number, an address of somebody who really does want to sell, or somebody who's just saying, hey, I'm just seeing what I could get? So it's a very, it's just there's a big spectrum there, like from one side to the other side. And so as we look at it, we want contracts, and that's what we want to really base everything on. As brand, and I'm just going to throw this in here because it can get complicated thinking about brand as a product business or as a service business or like a Cracker Barrel type business versus an investor or a realtor. But if you look at the brand, it's when people search you, what do they find? What do they see on the internet about you when they look you up? And I feel like we're getting into more educated people nowadays. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that.
No problem.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, my window just popped up that I was being logged out. All right. So yeah, so when it comes to looking at brand, we're looking at the brand of a realtor or an investor. It's not going to be the same as like Cracker Barrel. You're really looking at what is brand presence. You know, what do people say about you online? When people search you, what do they say? What do people say? When they come to your website, what do they see? Do you have a legitimate Google business profile? Simple stuff like that, because what's going to happen is as people become more and more educated in this space, and there's been, you know, in this space, I mean, we've had the lawsuits, we've had in some states, you know, like for example, wholesaling has become illegal. We've had the lawsuits against NAR. We've had all these things happen. And so there's this trust that's been broken in some people's mind. And so the brand is what is going to build that trust back up. So having that Google business profile with all of your reviews on it, that's great to have because more people are going to search for you. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the difference between as we shift into realtors and investors and real estate versus a product or a service.
Yeah. Because these are big financial decisions. This isn't you just going and buying a new tube of toothpaste.
Correct.
Right? You're dealing with people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
And there are some nefarious people out there that will take advantage of people that are in distressed situations where they need to make a decision quickly or in a situation where they don't completely understand all their options. So, you know, an investor can go in there and sell them, I guess, an option that isn't in their best interest. It's more in the best interest of the investor. And that's given the industry just a black eye.
Yeah,
which is why you see a lot of these regulations coming down, like the banning of wholesaling in certain states and cities. You know, like in Colorado, if you go to anybody who's in foreclosure, like there's like this state disclosure that someone has to sign that has in a certain size font and bold print, and like they're doing a lot to protect the consumer, which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes they err in being too cautious and making it, you know, too many obstacles and things for people to make it where it's just people just don't want to do it anymore. How do you balance that in the marketing space between, you know, selling something really well? Like, can you sell something to somebody badly where they're buying a product because you sold it so well, but maybe it doesn't do what it's supposed to do? Like, you're a man of faith, right? So that you're always tiptoeing this line between doing your job really well and selling stuff, but also making sure that the consumer is protected.
Yes. We've all heard the statement, under promise, over deliver. The problem with many entrepreneurs, and it's very easy, and I'm not going to say it's not easy to fall into this, is to over promise and under deliver. And I don't feel like entrepreneurs, investors, agents, I don't feel like they do it all the time to be, you know, sneaky or to actually hurt somebody. But it starts out as, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. And they're just trying to get the contract. They're just trying to get the agreement. And then they get it. And then they realize, oh, wow, I'm on the line for all this stuff. Okay, well, I'm going to have to cut this out. I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't even know how to do that. So they do that, and then that's where it goes south for most people. Most people don't go into it thinking, oh, I'm going to take advantage of this person, and I'm going to get their house. There are people in the industry like that, and if you are, please get out of the industry. I'm literally going to just say that. Get out of any industry. If that's your goal is to take advantage to people, then you're not needed in these industries because you only bring a bad name to it. But it is easy to overpromise and underdeliver by accident. So what you always have to think about is to create the right promises and the right delivery. We've been told to stack things in marketing. If you watch a lot of the gurus and stuff, they say, oh, you know, stack this. You're buying this, you're buying this, you're buying this, you're buying this. And they go through this list of like 10, 12 things. And then by the end, they're almost, the whole psychology behind it is they have so much value and they're so overwhelmed by everything they're going to get that they're just like, dude, I can't get this anywhere else. I need it.
Yeah.
And I've come to this place where I'm like, no, let's just be straightforward. Like, these are just, here are the features. These are great and everything, but here's what you're going to get. Like, here's the one thing or the two things that this is really going to help you with. Yeah, do you get all these other things? Sure. But that's not what we're worried about, and that's not what we're focused on. We're focused on the one or two things that we're really going to help you to do. And when you start doing that, you'll start noticing that you don't overpromise. You start realizing, oh, okay, it's a lot easier to make that promise and deliver on that promise instead of being the jack of all trades or the person who can give everything to them. Had a coach once tell me, or a mentor once tell me, he said, your goal is not to be their savior. Your goal is to help them.
Yeah,
Right?
solve their problems.
Solve their problem. Don't be a savior, because you'll never be that. And when he said that to me, I was like, ooh, yeah, you're right. It's so easy to want to save them or help them in that way, but just solve a problem.
Yeah.
Really
So, and that goes across all of these things. Most products and services that do well over time, sure, there's a flash in the pan and a company spikes, but they don't last if their product or service isn't truly solving problems.
Yep.
Because obviously there's repeat business and word spreads fast, and pretty soon they'll have negative reviews, and those companies die out over time. So the brands that do deliver and keep their promise, and the ones that you can trust, they're the ones that have the longevity over time, and they're the ones that eventually go public and have these huge valuations. It's an interesting dichotomy there.
It is. And if you think about the whole thing about just that whole area of promise, when you give a promise, it's like that handshake. And so when that promise doesn't show up on the other side, people feel cheated. And that is gonna destroy the brand faster than anything. And so the best thing you can do is have a good product or a good service. Don't add a bunch of extra to it. Just have a good product and good service and sell it, not everything else. Because the fastest way to fail is to market a crappy product or service. Like, just market it. You'll be so fast to fail because marketing just turns the heat up on anything, good or bad.
Right.
So you'll realize very quickly, hey, I have a really bad service. Or market a company that has 1-star reviews from 1,000 people. like it's just not going to do great. Might be that flash in a pan, like you said, but over time, it's just going to start going downhill real quick.
Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
So how have you shifted? So at some point, right, you're moving from all your experience in traditional marketing and all the standard kind of the foundational things that you've done, and you've realized at some point that, okay, I need to get on this AI bandwagon. Mm-hmm. When you built the company, were you thinking, okay, I need to get on the bandwagon, what can I do with AI? Or did you see an opportunity where like, oh, AI could do this really well, I need to figure out how to implement it? It's kind of the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
Right? Did you have the idea first and think that, okay, AI can do this better? Or did you look at it and be like, I just need to figure out something with AI and I'm going to figure it out?
So my wife and I started the company in a totally different direction. We were more service-based. That was going to be our main focus, service-based. The name Uprank came from SEO. We started using AI in SEO, and I started seeing a lot of shifts happen. We also ran ads, obviously, as well. We did a lot of retargeting. So if you ran SEO, then you got somebody to your site, you just retarget them. So I ran ads that way. I also ran ads for a lot of companies and a lot of more enterprise type clients, big events in the real estate space, stuff like that we ran ads for. And we set up a lot of automations on the back end. So that's what our company was doing, more enterprise, higher cost, higher level type stuff. And we basically, when AI came out, like I was already working with Dialogflow. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. Mm-hmm. Dialogflow was kind of like the early days of air quotes AI. Basically, you say this, it says this. You say this, it says this. And it was basically just a flow of the dialogue. And so I was very into that And then AI came to the market, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is cool. I want to play with this. Sadly, I probably talk to AI more in a day now than a human. It's weird, but I do it just because I do it from a discovery point, a programming point, a writing point, like just all these points. If you just add them up, then it's like in business, I'm just nonstop using AI. They say like 23 minutes a day is the average OpenAI user. I think it is. I think I'm probably like not 23 hours, thank goodness. But I'm probably in a good 3 to 4 hours at least, because I'm always using it for something and connecting it, figuring it out, and all different levels, not just one or the other. I try all different ones, but that's what got me into this. And then I saw this space where it was expensive to market. Like people would come to us. Like I had so many calls with people in our agency that were like, "Oh, I'd love to work with you. I only have $1,000 budget for ad spend." And whereas in my mind, I knew they could get started with that. I didn't want to start another course. I didn't want to, there was just, they become outdated very quick because everything changes so fast. And I was like, and that's what, I was like, yeah, we need something that solves that. And now we get down to $130 a month. So, I mean, when you buy yearly, so $130 a month, you can think about spending $1,000. Even $175 a month, you can think about, hey, I can afford that to spend $1,000 on ad spend. That's great. So
that's one of the big shifts that you found in the benefits of an AI-powered platform is that you can move some of the costs. So if you have $1,000 to spend. In the olden days, 70% of that would be for the agency, right? For them to do all the work. And so you only have $300 for ad spend. Now, if you got $1,000 and you have a product like yours, you can shift all the work that the agency used to do, that bucket of cash, you can now shift it to ad spend. So the same amount of money, you can get way more of your messaging out there than spending that on the people doing the work.
Absolutely. And it's, as you look at it, just from an apples to apples, agency versus AI, a human versus AI optimizing an ad, I'll be honest, AI watches it 24/7. A human can only watch it, however long a human. And in an agency world, they may watch it, they may go in and check on it, 10 minutes a day, depending on how many clients they have. Sometimes they don't even do that. Sometimes it's like every few days they go in there. I've had a lot of people come to us and they're like, oh yeah, I realized that my agency hadn't been touching my account because my credit card went bad in my Facebook account, and it was a week before they notified me, oh, hey, your credit card has expired. And I realized that, wait a minute here, this has been expired for a week now. How in the world did you not know this? Like, how in the world? And they just weren't watching it.
Right.
And so it's things like that I've just watched. I've heard people charging astronomical setup fees, which is crazy. I mean, I heard recently of one $11,000 setup fee to set up Facebook ads only. And I'm like, I don't know what you could do in a Facebook account to set up Facebook ads that would cost $11,000. I mean, that's a lot of money to set up a Facebook ads account. And they didn't even set up the account because they actually just put it in their own Facebook account and they ran it. And that's the other thing with marketing that I always tell people, you want to own your marketing. Never leave an agency. And with us, like, we don't use our ads accounts. It's your ads account. If you decide to leave the software, you bring all that data and all those ads with you. Those ads are sitting inside of your ads account. They don't sit on our platform in the same way that they sit in your ads account. It's just an API integration with Facebook. And so that's something that a lot of agencies do, is where they own the ads accounts and then they just run them into theirs. And they have all their benefits and pluses, but when you walk away.
Isn't it just about control, though?
It is.
I think that, if at some point this relationship's going to go sour, like they're going to realize that we're not good at what we're doing, so they're going to want to leave. So we need control of all the ads and the control of their account, so that when that point comes, we got more leverage.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is today, but it used to be, I think it was like about 3 to 4 years ago, the average agency lifespan for churn was like 1.9 months. It was under 2 months.
You can't even do due diligence in under 2 months with most agencies.
So it was like, yeah, it was horrible. And so if you think about that, like, it's just a really tough business to be in, let alone when you're working with a tough business to be in, it just makes it tougher on you as a customer. And so I always like to say, if you can at any cost put it back into the company's hands, help them either put it into the business owner's hands, because it might be a solopreneur, or they might have a team. We do have people that have teams that will purchase, and basically they just put it in their marketing manager's hand. And so it's an assistant to the marketing manager. It's an assistant to whoever is running the ads.
Right. So have agencies, I mean, they've gotten a bad rap, and I don't trust them, but people still use agencies. I've gone through so many different angles. Like we use HubSpot, and HubSpot has this whole scenario where they have like these gold like members, and they're supposed to be like some of the top ranked agencies that are out there. And I've used them, and they're one of the ones that we spent 6 figures on that just didn't do crap for us. Is the agency world like, I feel like it's dangerous for a lot of entrepreneurs. They're thinking, okay, these guys are professionals and they're going to invest a bunch of cash into an agency, and then it doesn't pan out. Like, is there more bad eggs out there than good ones?
So there's a lot of good agencies. I'm not going to sit here and say that all agencies are bad. Everybody asking for $3,000 a month of ad spend is bad. Now, if somebody's asking for $3,000 a month on ad spend on $1,000, that's just bad advice. That they probably don't have your best interest because that's just not enough ad spend to be spending that much on an agency. There are a lot of bad eggs. I feel like there has been a place, as what's happened is just in the influencer, the guru culture, whatever you want to call it. What's happened is you've had a lot of people told, oh, hey, you don't know about marketing? Well, you can get into marketing today. I can show you how in this short course, how you can start a marketing agency. And so there's hundreds of thousands of agencies out there. We're not talking like 10,000 agencies. There's hundreds of thousands of agencies. And out of those hundreds of thousands of agencies, there's a lot of people who were good-hearted, good people just looking for a way to make money, who got told by somebody, hey, you can start an agency. You can make 6 figures. You can make 7 figures. You can make this. You can make this. They got told this promise. They were overpromised. They jumped into it. They got their first few clients, and they were like, oh, shoot, what do I do? I was in a like a mentor type group where I was on the kind of the top, where I was mentoring people and answering questions for people and stuff. And there were, over like a 2-year period, I just watched this influx of people coming in to the group asking questions. And they would come in and they'd be like I had somebody ask me, they were like, I got my first client. What do I do? I was like, what are you talking about? What do you do? Like, what did you sell them?
Right.
Well, I sold them Facebook ads. I'm like, wait, have you ever ran a Facebook ad? No, I don't know how to do it. It's like, you give them their money back. You shouldn't have sold them Facebook. But I was told by, and I'm not going to mention any names, but they were told by some guru that, oh, you can start an agency and do this, this, and this. And it was like, no, you can't do that. That's not right. So you've got to watch out there. Best thing to make sure is that you own, if you're going to go with an agency, first off, ask for proof. Ask for references. Make sure you get the best references. Make sure you get some of the top people saying, yes, work with this person. They're great. Make sure you see at least some of the things that they've done. When it comes to, if it's ad spend, like what they've done, with ad spend. Ask those questions. Make sure you own your marketing. Never give away your marketing. You need to be able to own your ads. You need to be able to own the copy. You need to be able to own everything. That way, if you want to shift to a different agency or bring it in-house, you can do that. talked to a guy a couple weeks ago, $25,000 into marketing he paid to an agency. And he didn't even get to keep his website at the end when he left after the year because they owned it on their servers. And they were like, oh, no, that's ours. Even though he thought it was his. And so it's very important to watch out for that and just make sure that you're staying away from that. Personally, I would say it might take a little extra time, but go out and do it yourself. Yeah. Try it out yourself. With AI, it's amazing what AI can do these days. And it'll also be another skill that you have as a business owner and as a person, because you should be your own marketer. I mean, you really should.
Well, people hire agencies a lot of the times because they know what they want to say. Like they know how to sell their product or service to like one person, and they know what to say, and they can put together a value proposition and sell it. But that doesn't work well on scale, right? So they use agencies to get that message out to the masses. And that's when people get in trouble with agencies, is because the agency, starts to just suck in all this cash to do all their due diligence and, get them up and running before they even run ads, right? And get them out there. So your platform has taken a lot of that guesswork out of the whole process, where they can just focus on creating a message and then them essentially implementing what an agency would do, but all powered by AI. So can you explain a little more of the technical, not implementation, but the benefits of using a platform like yours?
Yeah. So have you heard of vibe coding?
Vibe coding, no.
Yeah. Okay. So vibe coding is something that entrepreneurs are going to start hearing more about it. And basically what it is it's coding with AI. And so what you're essentially doing is think about having a dialogue with AI. Hey, I want an app that does this. And then it creates that app. And then it's like, hey, can you make the sidebar look like this? Can you change the color? Can you add this button? And it's just this vibe of this conversation back and forth with AI. That's what I like to look at our platform as when it comes to marketing. It's a conversation back and forth depending on what area you're in. It takes a few minutes to set up your brand profile. So once you set up your brand profile, then all you have to do is go in and say, hey, I'm a real estate agent in Denver, Colorado. And then boom, it'll start spitting out all the different creatives to start with. Not the creatives you have to work with, like run with, you don't have to. But the ideas and creatives, and it just spits out this whole entire folder of creatives on over 10 different platforms. And so it gets it to all those platforms, Meta, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. So it's sitting there ready for you. At that point in time, then you can go in and you edit it. And just like you would be working with an agency would create the creatives. They'd send them to you. You'd say yes or no, or change this, change that, and just be this back and forth email or however, Slack channel or however they communicate with their customers. Same thing's happening, but it's happening in real time.
So just to be clear, the creatives is what you see and what you read.
Yep.
Right. So it's the ad.
The copy. So you got your headlines, you got your descriptions, just depending on the platform. It's a little different with each platform. Videos, it comes up with some videos for you to start with. It comes with images for you. And then if you want to even go deeper, we do have a creative hub where you can go in and you can create a UGC avatar. And so that would be like an AI talking head person promoting, and it'll give you the script. You get to pick the person you want to use, the voice you want, all that stuff. It just takes you step by step as if you're kind of filling out the form with an agency. And so it makes it very quick to create those creatives. Once you get a creative you like on the platform you like, then all you have to do is hit launch. Once you hit launch, it's connected. Once it's connected to your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever account you want to connect to, it's connected through API. It sends it out to there, and it's done. And it's just like it's running. And at that point in time, you have the choice to either allow AI to tell you what needs to be changed, or now we have the option to click a button and you can let AI make those changes. So it can optimize and make micro shifts for you as it's doing all these different creatives. So if you think about this from a perspective of speed, the speed is there. It's just right there. It's happening all in real time. I can literally create an ad in probably less than 15 minutes. And so speed is there. Then if you think about those changes being made, there's not waiting on it. There's not waiting for it to be done. It's being real time. So that's speeding up right there. And then the launch and the optimization is what happens next. And so then it's over time, you can watch the ad, it'll push forward the creatives, and you can put so many creatives out there. Like if you look at e-com, I'm just going to use e-com because e-com brands will run, anywhere from 20 to 100 creatives sometimes at a time. And for even just one product, they'll do that. And so they're just running massive amounts of creative. And that's what this can do. It could do that. For an investor or an agent, it can literally make it so that you can launch the ad, you can see what works and what doesn't work, turn off the things that aren't working or allow it to turn them off, and then turn on and keep pushing the things that are working, adjust them as you move forward because things do change. Ads do fatigue. And so sometimes you run an ad for only so long. It depends on your area. If you're just in a small area, then it's going to fatigue quicker than if you're in a little bit larger of an area. But the AI will help you and assist you along the way with that. So we have people that are seasoned that have tested it out, used it, worked on it, played with it, launched stuff on it. And we have people who are fairly beginners. They're beginners when it comes to ads, but they have a little bit of tech understanding. I would say if you can understand using ChatGPT, opening your email, opening Google Docs, using a slideshow, stuff like that, then you can understand the platform. Opening your social media, it's pretty easy. It's pretty intuitive. So, yeah.
Plus, you've got a bunch of on-demand tutorials where people can just watch
Yes.
a video and see how every little step is done.
Yep.
So for
And
those,
they're-
even
and
if you
they're-
don't know how to chat with GPT, then you could figure it out based off one of the videos that you have.
Yeah, based off the videos or based off our GPT that's built into it. So we also have the ability to chat with it, and you can just chat with the AI, asking it questions, stuff like that. The other thing is when it comes to those tutorials, I do want to point this out because this is a big deal to me, is they're like a few minute tutorials. They're like a minute, 2-minute tutorials. They're not like, it was like, let's take out all the, hello, I am so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. Take out the face. Let's make it so simple and so easy that you're like, oh, that's how I do it. Okay, done. Going and doing it. Because to us, it's efficiency and speed. Like really, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that's what it is for people who want to sell too.
Yeah.
Like simplify the whole entire process of running ads, so I don't have to think about it, and then you get the benefit of the AI optimizing, which is where you said a lot of agencies dropped the ball anyway, because they didn't have people logging in and checking the ads to make sure that they were performing the based off of the goal of the ad. The AI does that all for you. So you're going to have better optimization over time with the AI, and especially as the AI learns.
It learns
Your
and
business.
it gets better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like just think about like I know AI today versus AI 3 months ago has made leaps and bounds. I can't even, and it's only going to go faster moving forward. So it's going to get better and better and better because AI is just, think about it, it just generates itself. So it's over and over again. So the jump it made in the past 3 months, it'll make that same jump in less time this next time.
Yeah.
And even less and even less. So yeah, so it's going to get better. It's going to know your business better. It's going to know your ads better, your account better, all that stuff.
That is insane.
It is insane when you say it out loud and think about it.
Well, I'm glad you figured out a way to take part in it, because a lot of the agency are going to die because of this same thing. So instead of just being a normal agency who uses it little here and there, like you've developed a whole entire way for entrepreneurs to leverage a platform that will grow with them, instead of relying on an agency that's just going to suck money from them. So I'm excited to see how this all plays out. And for those of you that are listening that are interested in running ads and checking out Michael's platform, Uprank, which has some really cool AI stuff. Like we did a demo a couple weeks ago, checked it out. It looks really, really cool. I'm going to be using it myself on some ads that I'm going to be running So I'll be sure to share that with the audience as that progresses. But
Cool. That's awesome.
Michael, thank you so much, for
Thanks
being
for having
here
me.
and sharing your expertise all across the board. Right? You're launching your AI platform, but I think why that's so valuable is because of your experience in the industry, being a marketer, right? Being someone who wrote the copy, who's designed the ads, who's done it all from the basics, and now you can use that fundamental understanding of marketing and
Hmm.
allow an AI platform to kind of take that from you, and they can implement it in their own businesses as entrepreneurs. So I think it's exciting. So you guys check that out. We'll put links in the chat so you can go try it out. Um, use the platform. Michael, you're going to probably do some more trainings and stuff down the road
Yep. Absolutely.
on how to use it, and just kind of marketing tips and tricks. I think you mentioned that as well.
Yep.
So how can people find you? Like, we're going to put some stuff in, links and stuff in the show notes, but if they want to, check you out online, where can they find you?
Yeah. So Facebook, make sure you go and find me on Facebook. Just look up Michael Walsh. I think it's under Michael Gerald Walsh. Also, you can check me out on under Real Michael Walsh on other platforms. And so that's the best way. And then just head over to our website and check out the show notes. There's going to be a lot of links in there as well for some items.
Cool.
So awesome.
Awesome, Michael. Well, thanks again. Really appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here, and appreciate everybody listening today, this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast, where we have really cool entrepreneurs come in and talk about business and marketing and real estate, and just looking for ways of getting some gems so that we can implement in our business now, whether it's directly real estate or some sort of thing that's related to real estate and business and entrepreneurship. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
See ya. Thanks.